Easy Targets is a black comedy slash drama short film released this year, and it's directed by Aaron Gillingham and stars Aaron Gillingham himself, as well as Simon Thompson, Ben Ramsey, and Oliver Whitehead. The film basically follows three people with completely different backgrounds. One's a spy, one's a psychopath, one's an assassin, and while they do have completely different backgrounds, completely different motivations, and completely different methods of doing their job or their thing, however, as different as all these guys are, they all have one thing in common. They are all trying to kill one single person. Marcus Fisher, played by Aaron Gillingham. First thing I have to say about this short film is the fact that I actually like the premise. I think it's a really interesting idea. I definitely could see this being used in a theatrical film one day, and I just really like this idea for a plot. It's very interesting. And along with the story, there's the acting, which is 50-50. There are definitely times when the acting is pretty good and they really feel like they're in the moment. However, there are also some times when the actors really just feel like they're standing or sitting there and they're really just saying their lines and they don't really put much emotion into it. This causes some of their acting to be pretty wooden and monotone. However, again, there are definitely times when that doesn't happen and they are actually acting. So the acting is pretty 50-50 for me. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's wooden. The writing, on the other hand, is a bit better than the acting. Now, considering, like I said, this is a black comedy, which means that while it's few and far between because this is also more of a drama, but there definitely are some really good, genuinely funny moments. The comedy especially shines in the relationship between Jerry and Paul, played by Ben Ramsey and Simon Thompson, respectively. These two have the most chemistry. They're together pretty much the entire time, and their constant banter, their relationship, and the way they bounce off each other is quite a lot of the time genuinely funny. And then there's one of my favourite aspects of this movie, the cinematography. The cinematography in this movie is really well done. The film does a great job of following stuff like the rule of thirds, the 180-degree rule, and there's also a lot of depth in shots. I particularly love shots like this particular shot that I'm showing you right now, where one half of the screen is taken up by someone close at a wall, and on the other side of the screen you can see a bunch of guys in the distance, and this particular shot really puts more depth into the shot. There's something going on in the main ground and something going on in the background. The colour contrast and the colour grading is top notch. I love how it's filmed in cinematic 2:35:1 aspect ratio. Overall, it's just a really professional looking movie. With some work and tweaking, it looks like something you could see in a proper theatre. And when I'm talking about this movie as far as the cinematography goes, there's one shot I cannot ignore. And that is one particular shot that happens within the second scene of the movie, where there is a massive 1 minute long unbroken shot. Not to mention that there's a lot said, there's a lot done, and the camera is often moving in lots of different ways. Basically, a lot of stuff happens in this one shot, and the fact that he was able to hold one shot for over a minute was really impressive. It's not something that too many people will notice, but I did notice that it was one massive long take, and it was over a minute long, and Aaron himself has actually told me that it took him forever to get that shot. And I can't say I'm surprised, and I really have to respect you for that kind of commitment. My only complaint about the cinematography is that while the film usually does follow stuff like the rule of thirds and the 180-degree rule, however, on the occasion, there are definitely times when there's a lot of dead space. Space where the action is maybe sort of going on in the corner, and there's a lot of dead space with really just nothing going on all over here. There's also sometimes when the characters are sort of moving, and the camera is sort of panning so the camera can see what's going on, and it's obvious that the camera is sort of having trouble keeping up with the people on the screen. Another minor nitpick I have with the cinematography is that as much as I love the cinematic aspect ratio, I do have to admit there are times where the black bars actually sort of cover up the person's face. Like in this shot, you can tell that the faces in the shot are both being cut off, both at the top and the bottom. And so if you're going to make a film, and you're going to film it in a aspect ratio, it's something that you should keep in mind even when you're filming it. Because when you film it in an aspect ratio, a bit at the top and a bit at the bottom is going to be cut off to basically make the screen look wider. So when I'm filming stuff that I'm intending to create an aspect ratio for, I try to make sure that there is nothing important like any faces or anything in the top and bottom area, and I try mainly focus on stuff like the rule of thirds, so that way when I add the aspect ratio, I don't lose anything important, like I don't cut off any faces or anything like that. It's something that's really nitpicky, it doesn't happen an awful lot, it's not a huge deal, but it's definitely something you can improve upon as far as cinematography goes in your future films. And one other thing I have to say about this is the plot. It's actually rather convoluted, and it's a bit hard to follow in a way, and initially I thought that was because the script was a bit jumbled and messy, especially considering this is a very simple premise. But after thinking about it, I realized that it actually can be a good thing. The main reason why is because it's a very simple premise. 3 guys want to kill 1 person, and that's pretty much it. However, the way it's written and shot, it makes it so a premise so simple is not exactly the easiest to follow. And so, if you want to watch this film, you really need to be able to pay attention so you can really truly understand what's going on. Who's doing what, why, who's doing what. So basically, if you want to really understand and get a good grasp on what's going on with the story and characters, you have to pay attention. Because if you don't, it's going to be pretty hard to follow. So I guess you can say it's kind of intentional, so it's forcing you to pay attention. And I do have to respect movies that do that. I also like how there isn't a clear villain in this movie. You can really see where everybody's coming from. However, that also leads to one of my biggest problems with the film. There isn't a clear protagonist. I think it's great that you make the characters engaging and complex, like these feel like actual human beings and they feel like complex people. However, I don't know who I'm supposed to be rooting for. And that's mainly because the movie mainly focuses on these 3 people that want to kill this one guy. Now, some of you guys may probably go, but Corey, it's obvious. It's Aaron's character because he's the victim in this whole situation. And if that's your excuse, well, the ending of the movie may disagree with you. And my main reason why I have a problem with this is because when we finally got to the ending and the way it concluded and wrapped up, I didn't really feel anything because I didn't know who I was supposed to be rooting for. And as a result, when the ending happens, I just go, oh, okay, so that happened. Interesting. That was pretty good. Since I didn't know who I was supposed to want to succeed and there isn't a clear main character, I didn't really feel anything, I didn't really feel any weight when we got to the end of the film. But apart from that, I definitely think that Easy Targets is a really solid short film. It definitely has room for improvement, but it is pretty good, and I definitely see Aaron's passion being put into this film. And so I think it's really solid. I'm going to give Easy Targets an A. I'm not done with Aaron's short films yet because I also want to review another one of his short films that he's done not too long ago called Lost. I cannot wait to talk about that one with you, even though it's only 8 minutes long, but I don't care, I love it, and I cannot wait to talk to you about it as to why. But until then, hasta la vista, baby.